Welcome everyone to Flow and Restore Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. This week we've been focusing on the solar plexus energy center, also called Manipura chakra in the yoga chakra system, and in alignment with celebrating the beginning of summer, which is very much fire element dominated. But it's also interesting to work with the chakras and understand that it's not about completely activating the chakra and having an excess flow of energy, but it's about balance and knowing when we might be overdoing it or when there's stagnancy, where there's deficiency of energy. So we already talked about the qualities of the solar plexus center, and that involves having a strong sense of willpower, being inspired to take action when you need to take action towards supporting what's important to you or upholding your core values. It's also about using discernment with the ego mind, having a healthy relationship with our ego, where our ego is not dominating our everyday decision making, and we're able to see it for what it is. Sometimes it's there for a good reason, helping to protect us. I wanted to share an excerpt from the book Trust Your Truth by Shannon Algeo, a little more about bringing balance, living in balance in light of Manipura chakra. So this third chakra is the solar plexus, and it's through this energy center that we access the fire in the belly and harness the heat of fire so we can blaze a trail that is in alignment with our soul's purpose. The third chakra embodies the energy of a self-confidence that says, this is me. This is who I am. You know how the planets orbit around the sun? The third chakra helps you find your inner sun center, your personal power. The third chakra is the house of the soul. When this chakra is underactive, you may find yourself playing small and feeling trapped by feelings of unworthiness. When this energy center is overactive, you may find yourself conceited, narcissistic, self-centered, and hustling to prove your worth. When this energy center is in balance, there is a strong sense of, I am enough. No hiding, no performing. You are present, connected to your center. You stand your ground with both confidence and humility. Keep that in mind as we come into a practice that is balancing in itself, active vinyasa flow, followed by slowing down, introspective, being still in yin and restorative postures, before we end with 10 minutes of guided meditation. So invite you into hero's pose, a way to sit with your knees in front of you, no wider than hips distance apart, and either sitting directly on your heels or using one of your props like a block right between the ankles to sit on, elevating the pelvis. If your body is not conducive to a comfortable hero's pose, sit in a way that does allow you to sit tall and feel grounded. And this goes with all of our physical yoga practice. This is not a one size fit all. It's really about you knowing your body's needs and listening to it. That's part of that Manipura chakra imbalance, right? Not letting the ego control the practice, but using self-honesty and conscious self-care. So taking the variations of postures that work best for you in the moment and are in alignment with your intention. And with that being said, let's be still and take a moment to assess what we're bringing into the practice personally. You might close your eyes as you start to mentally scan your physical body, observing any sensations and its overall feeling as you begin your practice. Bring awareness to the breath without changing it. Feeling the way the breath is flowing in and out of your body right now. Notice how you're feeling energetically. And bring awareness to your mind. Are there any predominant kinds of thoughts looping? What is the quality of your presence and focus? Without judging any of it as good or bad, right or wrong, tune into your heart as well. What's emotionally present for you? Grounding in this moment, allow a deeper breath in through your nose and out through your lips. As you inhale a little deeper, root down more firmly into what you're sitting on. And as you exhale a little slower, lift tall through the center of your spine. As you continue to deepen your breath, I invite you to call to mind something that you appreciate. Anything. You might gently touch a hand to your heart center as you acknowledge that. Gratitude is powerful in opening our hearts, and this is necessary in setting an effective intention for your practice. An open heart. And with that, clarify your personal prayer or intention for showing up today. What are you inviting into your experience? And in light of working with your solar plexus energy center, is there a particular area in your life right now in which you want to feel more confidence or feel more vitality in? Or maybe a sense of balance in how you exert effort and ease? And as we remember that the yoga practice is not only for the individual self, but it's for the collective that we are a part of. I invite you to choose somebody or a community that you would like to dedicate today's practice to. This is one way to step outside of the ego mind and remember our part of the whole. Let's open the practice together by creating resonance. Chanting Om 3 times, feeling the resonance that you're both giving and receiving. Deep breath in. Let's begin to use an energy balancing breathing technique, one that helps us to also calm and focus the mind and body. And that's Ujjayi Pranayama, victorious breathing. So practicing it entails closing your lips, softly narrowing the back of your throat, and inviting a very gentle and smooth whispering sound that you listen to help focus your mind and to help regulate your energy. So you're balancing even, or you're breathing evenly and slowly in and out through the nose. Listen to a couple of cycles of that breathing technique now while you're sitting. And when we start to move the body, be conscious of how you're regulating the breath to stay in the same rhythm, trying to keep this consistency which helps to bring a steadiness of mind, a meditation to the practice. And so as you listen to that Ujjayi breathing, please make your way to stand at the very top of your mat. You may like to have blocks in front of your feet for later. When we reach down to press into the floor, you can press into the blocks if that's more accessible to you. So stand with your feet a little wider than hips distance apart and take what's called sort of a power stance. Stand in a way that you feel strong in your body. What does that look like for you? For some of us, that means raising an arm and having a fist in the air. For some of us, that means joining the hands in prayer, a feeling of connection to the heart and to the center. For some of us, that means standing with the arms down by the sides. But notice how you're rooting into the ground. Spread the toes and really feel your feet pressing into Mother Earth, this connection, this support. And then feel the lift up, your legs energize, your center. The solar plexus is located below the rib cage at the upper belly, mid back. So feel that area strong, alive, your inner fire stoked. Feel your heart center open as the shoulders relax down. Allow a few deep breaths to really embody this feeling of confidence. We know that the way you stand, your posture day to day reveals a lot of how you're feeling inside. If I walk into the room like this, slumped down with my head down, you might notice that I'm not confident, or that I'm feeling closed up, not wanting to connect, or feeling sad. So as you affect the way as you change your posture, as you are intentional with your physical alignment, you become intentional with what's happening internally as well. We can enter from the outside in and affect our inner world. And that's part of the yoga practice. So using these postures, these gestures, these breath works to really bring union to that state of a strong solar plexus, but a healthy balance. Let's begin our sun salutation, saluting that element of fire from the great sun that exists out there and within. So joining your hands in prayer, come back to your intention for your practice. Cultivating gratitude, which is much of what sun salutations is about. Reverence. Let's begin sun salutation C, Surya Namaskar C. As you inhale, sweep your arms forward and gently coil your chest up. Exhaling, hinge forward from your hips. Plant your fingertips outside your heels and inhale, step your left knee behind you and look up, kneeling lunge. While holding your breath, step into plank pose. Strong in the belly, long in the spine. Exhale, lower your knees, chest, then chin, sticking your tailbone up. Keep firming the belly in. Inhale, slide your belly to the ground and coil your chest up into cobra pose. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift your hips back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot forward beside your left thumb. Lower your right knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Inhale, root down to your feet and rise, saluting the sun above. Exhale, join your hands to your heart, saluting the sun or source within. Let's move to one more. Second side. Inhale, arms overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Plant your fingertips down. Inhale, step the right knee back into Anjaneyasana. While holding your breath, step into plank. Exhale, Ashtangasana, lower your knees, chest, then chin. Inhale, Bhujangasana, cobra, coil your chest up. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb. Lower your left knee, gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and fold. Inhale, rise, arms overhead, heart lifted. Exhale, marry your palms at your heart. Moving on to sun salutation A. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Press down into your blocks, shins or the floor. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward to half forward fold. Step back to plank and let's pause there for about 3 breaths. Stack the shoulders over the wrists, engage the area of the solar plexus and the lower belly, and lengthen through both ends of your spine. Knees can be on the floor if you need more support. Now, as you exhale, glide forward, graze your elbows by your ribs, pause halfway down, bending the elbows 90 degrees. Keep lifting the belly and lengthening the neck, Chaturanga Dandasana. This time, lower for cobra or flip the toes here and coil your chest up to upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, engage your belly to lift the hips back to downward dog. Pause for 3 breaths, stilling the body and steadying your gaze. Listen to the balance you're cultivating in your breath. When you've emptied the 3rd breath, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat, forward fold. Inhale, half forward fold or Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to your heart, Padasana. Once more, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Step to plank and slowly lower or lightly jump into Chaturanga Dandasana. Exhale, then inhale to Cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your body be still for 3 deep breaths. Remember that the breath itself is energetically balancing. The inhale is energizing by nature, and the exhale is cooling and calming by nature. As you balance the length of both, you invite energetic balance. When you finish the 3rd, walk or float to the top. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale to heart center. Let's prepare for sun salutation B, bringing the inner edges of your feet to touch. Inhale, bend your knees to touch. Sit back towards your heels in chair pose, raising the arms. Soften in your front ribs. Exhale, shift forward and fold from your hips. Press with your hands. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Walk to plank or float to Chaturanga. Take it through your vinyasa. Follow your pace of breath. This time, when you arrive in downward dog, keep your hips leveled and inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale, softly step the foot beside your right thumb and spin your left heel down. Inhale, rise, facing forward in Warrior One. Then exhale, lower into your vinyasa. If you need to conserve your energy, take a cat-cow instead, or skip the vinyasa altogether and go straight to downward dog. Remember, there are always options. From downward dog, inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale, foot beside your left thumb, spin your right heel down. Inhale, rise up to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale all the way down into your vinyasa. Pausing in stillness, balancing the breath. 3 cycles, steady your eyes, and relax your gaze. While we're cultivating focus, concentration here, remember to bring a softness to that focus as well. When you're ready, walk or float to the top. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, inhale, chair. Exhale, rise up. Step your feet apart, hips distance, parallel to each other, and bring your hands behind you to clasp or hold a strap between the hands if that's easier to help open the chest. Inhale, look up and lift your chest. Bend your knees generously and exhale, fold from your hips, tilting your weight as far forward as you can balance. Drop your skull. Let's stay a few breaths. Stretching the arms away from your lower back. Broaden the fronts of your shoulders. Bend your elbows slightly and lift the shoulders away from the neck. Now, if you're feeling a lot of heat accumulate in your body and you need to cool off a bit to create balance, try lion's breath. You inhale fully through the nose, then you stick out your tongue, open your mouth wide, and exhale any sound out so it feels releasing. From here, step back to downward facing dog. So one way of physically activating energy in your solar plexus is through spinal twists. Keep your hips leveled. Inhale, raise the right leg behind you. Now keep the shoulders leveled and exhale, cross your right knee to tap your left elbow and stack your shoulders over your wrist. So you're twisting at your waistline. Step the right foot beside your right thumb and lower your left knee. Inhale, sweep the arms up to a kneeling lunge. So having your left hip on top of your left knee, stack your right knee on top of your right ankle. Without moving your legs, energetically drag them towards each other to create a feeling of stability below. Use your right hand to cup the top of your right thigh, rooting your right leg solidly still. As you inhale, lengthen your spine down the midline of your mat. Now keep the pelvis and legs still, and as you exhale, rotate your rib cage to face your right wall. Either lower your left hand on a block or the floor, inside of your right leg, right under the left shoulder, and raise the right arm up. Or if your balance feels pretty stable and you want to go further, hook the left elbow outside of your right thigh. Either join your hands in prayer towards the center of your chest, open your arms apart, or bind if you practice binding. Now you could also choose to add lifting the left knee and tucking the back toes into a high lunge. We're going to be here for 5 more full breaths. So land your gaze on one focal point while relaxing your eyes. With each inhale, lengthen your spine further forward. Make sure it's tracing the midline of your mat. It's not turning right. With your exhales, hug your outer hips towards your midline, keep them balanced in height, and continue to spin the rib cage. Draw the shoulder blades down the back. Last 2 breaths. This is a version of Parita Parshvakonasana, twisting side angle pose. Look at the floor, lower your hands, and step back to downward facing dog. Deep breath in. If you need, open the mouth wide, lion's breath. Close the lips again, Ujjayi breath. Keep your hips leveled and inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Keep your shoulders leveled and exhale, cross the left knee to tap your right elbow, coming forward to plank pose. Gently step the left foot beside your left thumb and lower your right knee. Inhale, raise the arms. Now to set up effectively in the twist for balance, have your right hip directly on top of your right knee. Have your left knee directly on top of your left heel with your legs hips width apart. Energetically drag the legs towards each other so you feel a firm foundation. Use your left hand to cup the top of your left thigh down. Raise your right arm, and as you breathe in, lengthen your spine forward. Trace the midline of your mat. Keep your pelvis still, and as you breathe out, turn your chest to the left. Now, if you can, try to enter the same version of the twist you entered on the first side. Right hand down, left arm up, or right elbow hooks outside of left thigh, hands in prayer, arms apart, or bind. Maybe you lifted the back knee, coming into a high lunge. For about 5 more breaths, setting your eyes on one focal point, regulate your breathing with each long inhale
Lengthen the top of your head forward. With each equally long exhale, hug the hips still and continue to rotate your rib cage, broadening your chest while sliding both of your shoulder blades down your back. 3 more breaths. Look at your left foot. Step back to plank pose. From plank, take a very slow descent, just halfway down. Pause in Chaturanga Dandasana. Shoulders back, chest broad, lower all the way to the floor. Now resting your forehead on the ground, we're gonna add one more fire element posture, and that's bow pose. One final active pose, a back bend. So bring your knees as close together as you can, then bend them. Reach back with both hands and catch hold of your inner or outer feet or ankles. If you're holding your ankles, flex your feet. Press your pubic bone into the ground. Kick your feet away as you pull them towards you, lifting your knees no wider apart than hips distance. Draw your shoulder heads back and broaden your collarbones, lifting your chest. Look slightly down so as not to add tension to your neck, face, or shoulders. Now count at least 5 more full balance breaths. Dhanurasana. When you're done, let everything go, relax, head to your arms or to the ground, and be still. Observe your body and mind in that stillness. And place your hands on the ground beside your floating ribs and press up to all fours. Now entering the yin part of our practice, let's begin with another twist. Thread the needle. Now you could choose to have both knees on the ground, as we will slide the right arm under the left bent elbow and lower the head. Or you could add a hip opening variation with your right foot stepped out to the right, sole of the foot flat on the floor, inner arch of the foot in line with your left knee. So let's press the left hand down with whichever setup you chose, and inhale, raise your right arm up. Exhale, thread that arm underneath your left, bend to elbow, and lower the right side of your head all the way down. Now, if your head doesn't comfortably rest on the ground, use any of your props, your pillow, your blanket, your blocks, to rest your head on. Now try to level out your hips. Remember, we're not twisting at the pelvis or the lower back. Keep the lower back safe, but rather invite the twist to happen around the region of your solar plexus, right under your rib cage, across your waistline. Relax the shoulders away from your neck and tune into about 8 more slow breaths. As you're ready, press up slowly to tabletop pose. Pause there. Maybe take a round or two of cat-cow if you need to move. Tune into your breathing. Now, invite symmetry by practicing in the same way for side 2. If you stepped your right foot out earlier, I invite you to step your left foot out this time. Press your right hand down. Inhale, raise your left arm. Exhale, thread it underneath your right bent elbow. Lower the left side of your head all the way down. Use a prop if your head does not comfortably rest on the ground. And then balance out the height of your two hips. Now invite the twist to happen mostly at your waist, sending the shoulder blades down the back ribs. About 8 more long breaths here. And this time, come on up to tabletop and let's prepare for a rest in child's pose, bringing the inner edges of your feet together. Choose to have your knees together or as wide apart as you feel is comfortable, and let your pelvis sink all the way back and down to your heels. Now, if your forehead does not comfortably rest on the ground, again, use any of your props to rest your forehead on. And decide what's more comfortable, to reach your arms forward, to bring the arms back by your sides, or something else where you can really relax the shoulders and pause here for about 10 breaths. Child's pose or balasana is often considered a cooling posture. And in the physical vinyasa part of this practice, we built quite a bit of heat, especially with several sun salutations, which is a quality of stoking your inner fire, your solar plexus energy. But I talked in the beginning about balance. So part of being attuned to your chakra system is to know when there's too much fire in your solar plexus. I mentioned how that might look like when I read the excerpt in the beginning of this practice, or when there's too little fire, where we're not feeling motivated to do things that serve well-being. And so in the first part of our practice, we're stoking the fire, we're trying to get the energy moving, especially if you're feeling stagnant in the solar plexus. And now in the second part of our practice, these are ways to address too much fire. So a little bit of both to bring balance. Check in with your breath now. And remember that just like movement, stillness is powerful. Especially being present in stillness. Now, please slide your hands back towards your knees, and with an inhale, slowly roll your spine upright. Take a block and place it off to the side near the rear end of your mat, and let's come down onto your back. Stepping your feet on the floor with your knees bent. You're going to come into a hip opening posture that externally rotates the thigh. So turn out your right thigh at the hip and flex your right foot, crossing your right ankle on top of your left thigh to make a figure 4 shape. Now keep your left foot on the floor and use your right hand to gently press your inner right thigh open. Make sure your hand is not pressing your knee. It's pressing closer to your hip. Now, having your right foot flexed here, you're pressing the big toe mound of it towards your left wall and curling the toes back towards your right knee. And this actually activates the muscles surrounding your right knee, so you're not twisting the knee. You're originating the movement at your hip, not the knee. Notice any sensations in your body right now, especially surrounding your right hip. If you're feeling pretty open in your right hip and you want to take this further, now begin to lift the left foot. Thread your right hand between your thighs, and with two hands, hold your left thigh or your left shin, gently bringing the left leg closer as you splay your right thigh open with your right arm. Keep resting your head and shoulders on the ground. If you need, you can use a little pillow for your head. Now let's tune into about 8 more full, balanced Ujjayi breaths. Listen to your breathing. And now from here, we're gonna add a spinal twist again. So wrap your right leg over your left leg like you would for eagle pose, and slide your pelvis another 3 to 5 inches towards the right edge of your mat. Slide your right arm out to the right so it's resting on the ground. Keep the right shoulder down and lift your feet. Take a few breaths to slowly drop your knees to your left side, maybe looking over your right shoulder. Now, if that right shoulder starts to rise off the floor, take your pillows, blankets, or blocks and place them underneath your outer left leg, the amount that you need to keep the right shoulder grounded. And if you're needing a little more release in your lower back, place your left hand on your right outer hip, and as you're exhaling, gently press your right outer hip away from you, tilting it towards the front edge of your mat. Tune into about 7 or 8 more breaths here. As you're ready, slowly unravel back to center. Bring the pelvis to the midline of your mat, step your feet on the ground, and just pause for a few breaths. Feel your spine, your body coming out of that asana. Notice the effects of that pose. Now let's turn out the left thigh at the hip. Flex your left foot as you cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Keep your right foot on the ground and place your left hand close to your left hip, gently pressing your inner left thigh open. Sense the quality of your breath here. And notice what's coming up in any sensations, especially around your left hip. Your body might be asking you to stay in this version of the pose longer. Or you might opt to thread your left hand between your thighs And lift the right foot off the floor as you use both hands to take hold of your right thigh or right shin, gently bringing the right leg closer, keeping your head and shoulders relaxed down. You can also continue splaying open your left thigh with your left elbow or forearm. Tune into about 8 more slow, mindful breaths. Now let's wrap the left leg over the right as you would for eagle pose, and then place your pelvis another 3 to 5 inches towards the left edge of your mat. Open your left arm wide out to your left side and ground that shoulder. Then lift your feet and slowly begin to lower your knees to your right side. Remember, you could place props underneath your outer right leg to prevent the left shoulder from rising off the ground. Or to deepen the twist or release on the lower back, place your right hand on your left outer hip, and as you breathe out, gently press your left outer hip towards the front edge of your mat. Get into another 7 to 8 breaths. Then start to unravel onto your back. This time, draw your bent knees together into your chest. Rock a little in any direction, like side to side. Or maybe take happy baby pose, splaying your thighs open, lifting the soles of your feet parallel to each other, facing the sky. Remember to ground your tailbone, head and shoulders in happy baby pose. Close your knees together and start to rock forward and back along the length of your spine a few times, building some momentum to eventually rise up to sit. So coming up to sit, we're gonna set up for supported fish pose using your 2 blocks. So place 1 block either at the tallest height for the back of your head at the rear of your mat, or medium height for the back of your head. You'll know when you lie back, if you want more lift in the chest, you'll want to have the lower height for the head. Now place the second block in the medium height, second level, either tracing the midline of your mat like this, so that the blocks are only about 1 inch or 2 apart,
or crossing the mat like this so that the blocks are further apart, like 5 to 6 inches. Having your pelvis on the ground, let's set up some support for your lower back. Either take your rolled up blanket or a long pillow like this and place it across the mat so that you can lie your legs on top with your knees bent on top of the pillow. Shake out your legs, roll them inward and outward, circle out the feet, and then just let the feet flop, separating the feet wider than hips distance apart. Now, as you keep your pelvis on the ground, slowly begin to lower your back so that the area that is just beneath the bottom tips of your shoulder blades lands on the closest edge of the closest block, thus allowing your shoulder bones to descend into the space between the blocks while your chest is lifted and expanded. And make sure to adjust the blocks. You can play around with sliding them so that you feel symmetry in both shoulders, and even a millimeter sliding the block in one direction can make a huge difference in how this pose feels. We're going to be here for 4 minutes, so make sure that you can be still and relaxed in the way you set up your props. And then feel the block that's under your head, allowing the natural curvature and length of your neck. Roll the fronts of your shoulders back and turn your palms to face up, down by your sides. This is a gesture of openness, receptivity. As you close your eyes, scan your body and invite a feeling of symmetry along the left and the right sides of your legs, hips, shoulders, hands, making any little adjustments you need so that you feel that balance. And with eyes closed, I'll invite you into longer exhalations. Inhaling 5 counts will fill up the area of the solar plexus, so abdominal breathing. And exhaling will invite cooling by gently blowing the breath out through the lips for 7 counts. So inhaling into the belly through the nose and exhaling longer through the lips. Let's try 3 cycles of this breathing together, and then continue 2 cycles on your own before we let go of regulating the breath. So this is another technique for relaxing the nervous system, helping the digestion, which is a part of the solar plexus center, and cooling down. So empty this breath to prepare. Into your solar plexus, inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out through your lips, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Second time, inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Third time, inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue 2 more cycles on your own.
When you're finished, consciously release control of your breathing and notice how you're feeling now, anything that you're feeling. Now let your body rest here a little longer as you're observing how it's feeling in this posture. Let your movements be very slow and careful, containing that feeling of calm in your mind and body as you begin to press your hands into the ground, whether you're turning over to one side gently or slowly lifting your head forward. Gradually rise to sit. We're going to take a gentle spinal twist sitting down. Prepare for corpse pose in a moment. So extend your left leg forward, step your right foot on the ground in front of your right hip, and then place your right hand on the floor behind your pelvis. Sitting up tall, relax the shoulders. Feel that the crown of your head stays right above your tailbone. And then begin to turn your chest to the right. Keep lifting through the top of the head as you press the pelvis down and continue twisting. Make it a gentle twist. So one thing I talked about in balancing the solar plexus, your solar plexus energy, is knowing what your tendencies are. It comes out in your physical yoga practice. Are you someone who continuously tries to do 110%, trying to do every pose to the maximum and more? Always playing with your fire or playing with the edge, trying to get the last bit of that extra part of the twist. Or maybe you're someone who does the opposite, who shrinks back when challenge arises and feels like they're often backing off or wanting to do less. So knowing what patterns you might have, and this could change. You might challenge yourself in your next yoga practice to play a little bit more of the opposite.
If you're always chasing the edge of things, maybe you practice more child's poses. And that can be challenging itself if you're someone who's used to always moving, right? Or maybe it's the opposite. If you're someone who's easily discouraged and opts out of challenge, maybe you give yourself a little more encouragement to try something new, something unfamiliar. Start to unwind, and let's extend the right leg forward. Bend the left knee, sit up tall. Place the left hand on the ground behind your pelvis. Feel that the top of your head is right on top of your tailbone. And in keeping that, begin to rotate your rib cage to the left. And part of this challenging ourselves to come out of our patterns and habits, just to see what's on the other side, is also challenging our ego. Because our ego is often what keeps us in familiarity, not wanting to try something different or being ultra competitive. And remember, I mentioned that your solar plexus energy center is about your relationship to your ego, your ability to discern when what it's saying to you is helpful and when it's not. And then start to unwind. Let's extend both legs forward. You might grab a strap as we prepare for Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. If you're using a strap, give yourself enough slack as you place the strap around the balls of your feet so that you're able to relax the shoulders down and slightly behind you. So there's a little lift in the chest, a little bit of cobra pose while firming the belly in, and you're keeping your throat open. So remember that we're hinging from the hips. We're not hinging from the neck like this. So try to keep the back sort of long, not rounded, as you little by little extend your heart forward and bow from the hips. Notice what you're feeling in your body here as we stay a few last breaths. As you press your pelvis down, begin to lift from your heart. Breathe in, slowly rise. And now let's set up for Shavasana. Find a way to lie down and be still for the next few minutes. I'm going to stay seated, so find your way down on your own. Use any of your props to support your body that you might need to be able to relax more comfortably. Close your eyes, sense the breath naturally flowing, and give yourself permission to not do anything. Just be. Be present with yourself. Shavasana. Now, as you lay resting there, another minute, observe yourself. Observe your physical form and notice how the body feels. Observe your energy as you tune into the natural breath. Observe your mind and your emotional state, sensing any effects of your yoga asana practice. Now, as you're ready, begin to move small parts of your body very slowly. You might rub the thumbs across your fingertips. You might gently turn your head, little by little, waking your body up. You might choose to turn over to one side and pause for a few breaths. You might rock yourself forward. Find your own path of least resistance to arrive at a comfortable meditation seat. Where your pelvis can feel grounded, your spine tall and alert, your whole body open and relaxed. Close your eyes or steady a soft, downcast gaze. As we continue to bring awareness to and balance energy at your solar plexus energy center, Manipura chakra, you might gently place a hand or both just below your rib cage at your upper belly. I invite you to visualize there a yellow glowing sun with the element of fire. Sensing your source of vitality, vibrancy, your feeling of aliveness in this body. As you continue to gaze inwardly at your inner sun, your inner fire, at your solar plexus, sense your ability to be inspired to action. Actions
that are sometimes easy and that are sometimes challenging, but actions that align you to what is closest to your heart, to what is most important to you. Sense your inner fire to uphold what you perceive as sacred. We're going to be silent for 3 minutes, visualizing that inner fire and feeling your inspired will. If you find that your attention is restless, you're moving from one thing to another and unable to be still in the mind, you might use this mantra and mentally repeat it to yourself to the pace of the breath. The fire within me burns through all blocks and fears. The fire within me burns through all blocks and fears. The fire within me burns through all blocks and fears. 3 minutes.
invite you now to let go of the mantra if you've been mentally chanting it. Continuing our meditation in silence, I invite you to practice mindfulness, becoming aware of your thoughts that come up, just letting the thoughts come and go as they do, but being curious as you receive a thought. What do you feel? Is there an emotion? If you get entangled in a thought and are no longer present, you start to follow the thought into a story and find yourself somewhere else. Notice how that feels too. Let's start this practice. Noticing thoughts and noticing feelings. Excuse me. Now, was there a predominant kind of thought that was repeating, or an emotion that felt strong? Now I invite you to sense who is aware of the thoughts. Who is aware of the feelings that are coming up? Can you sense the space between the thoughts and the awareness that is you? Now that awareness is what notices when your attention goes off into a story and brings your attention back to the present moment. That awareness is your discernment of the ego. And the more we sit in meditation and cultivate that awareness, the very subtle inner presence that is not swayed by thoughts or anger or happiness, but is underneath it, observing it, the more we can practice a healthy relationship with the ego mind. Coming back to balance in the solar plexus. Closing this practice, you might bring your hand to the heart or join your hands in prayer, allowing a moment of gratitude for anything you appreciate.
thanking my teachers, the teachers before them, all the teachers of yoga in many different ways, even the people who challenge us in life. They are teachers of yoga to us too, helping us to evolve. And come back to your intention for your practice. Remind yourself who you dedicated this practice to today. And in closing, I invite you to chant with me the seed sound, the bija mantra of your solar plexus energy center. So I invite you to bring that sound in your mind's eye to your upper belly. Let the vibration move into the cells there. The sound is Ram, Ram. Let's chant it 3 times to close. Ram, Ram, Ram. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.